Rivercast Media and Question Preuve have collaborated with Interlegal, one of the most established and trustworthy international legal networks, partnering with law firms offering their commercial legal expertise in more than 45 countries. Interlegal offers clients a full range of legal services complemented by an extensive knowledge of local laws, business customs, and local culture within each country. Find out more about Interlegal at interlegal.net. As part of International Women's Day, Interlegal presented a discussion panel on the challenges that women in law face around the world and how to empower women around them. During the next hour, you will meet 5 women lawyers with inspiring professional backgrounds from 3 different continents. The moderator and the 4 panelists stand out in the field of law in their respective countries. They will discuss the evolution of the profession for women, the barriers they have encountered as entrepreneurs, the place of women in their country, and the challenges to come for the next generation of women lawyers. Rivercast Media is pleased to be the podcast network that will distribute the recording of this discussion. In order of appearance, you'll get to meet these 5 lawyers, all members of Interlegal. The moderator, from Austria and Interlegal's Vice President, Gabrielle Bran-Ogris, partner of Bran Rechantwalte, GmbH. From India, Tanya Halawat, partner of Halawat and Associates. From Canada, Maud Fréchette, co-founder at Ulex Attorneys and Strategists. In Norway, Tone Bjorn, partner of Concilium Advocat Firma. And in Turkey, Özlem Kurt, partner at Kurtz & Partners, with the help of Rosanne Burk, communication and marketing strategist at Ulex Attorneys and Strategists. Do not miss this opportunity to hear about these formidable women practicing law around the world, and try to guess where in the world. It is not permitted for a lawyer to eat an ice cream in the street in public.
Hello everyone, thanks for being with us on this International Women's Day 2021, organized by Interlegal. My name is Gabrielle Brand-Ogris and I will be your host today. I'm a partner at Brand Rechtsanwälte in Vienna, Austria, practicing law since 1997, and I'm also vice president of the International Interlegal Network. Interlegal is an international network of law firms which are spread across more than 45 countries. And today I have the chance to talk to 4 experienced women lawyers from our Interlegal network to discuss the challenges of women in law worldwide. We will discuss the evolution of women's place in the profession in their country and exchange about our challenges and visions as entrepreneurs. And finally, we will ask ourselves, what are the upcoming challenges for the future generation of women in law? So today I am with Özlem Kurt, managing partner of Kurt & Partners in Turkey. Maud Fréchette, partner of Ulex, attorneys and strategists in Canada. Tanya Ahlavat, partner at Ahlavat Associates in India. And Tune Born, partner at Concilium Law in Norway. Hello, dear colleagues. So how are you today? I'm happy to see you today. Maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your background. Maybe we start with Tanya.
Hi, Gabrielle. Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya. I'm a partner at Ahlavat Associates from India. I started my career in 2007, and I dabbled with litigation and finally settled to practicing corporate law. In 2011, I and my husband started a firm called Ahlavat Associates, and we are a full-service law firm. And besides the 4 sabbaticals because of my children, I have not taken any other sabbatical and continue practicing law and enjoying it.
Perfect, thank you. Maybe Maud, you continue?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm glad to be here. I did my studies in Montreal. I'm Canadian based. I graduated in 2003 after doing an internship in Senegal. I've been doing a bit of litigation at the beginning of my career and then switched to commercial law. And now I've been doing commercial law, IT law, and IP law since about 2004. I co-founded a firm called Ulex, as you just told Gabrielle, in 2015 with 3 of my partners, and we focus on business law, IT, and IP law. And I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tune. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Tona, as you said, Gabrielle, and hello to everyone. I graduated in 1978, and I became a member of the Bar Association in Norway in 1982, and I founded my law firm in 1999, and we became a member of Interlegal the same year. So I think we are one of the oldest members in Interlegal. And we are today 5 lawyers, and one of them are my son. And actually, I graduated 3 months after I gave birth to him. And we are a full-service law firm. And I have noticed very big differences in the daily life of a female lawyer from the time I started in the beginnings of the 80s and up till today. Thank you.
Okay. And Özlem, you're the last. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Hello, it's Özlem from Turkey, Istanbul. I am managing partner of Kurtan Partners Law Firm, which is a full-service law firm. We are a team of 18 people. I had graduated at Marmara University Faculty of Law in Istanbul in 1999. Afterward, I graduated with LLM from London Metropolitan University. I was very lucky that I started working with a quite famous professor in Turkey on specifically competition and compliance issues. Since then, I've been working on focusly GRC, corporate, commercial, and competition issues, as well as IT and technology. I was lucky to experience very specific sectors such as automotive, spare parts, energy, and the retail and food, and etc. I feel so lucky today to be here with you all, especially on the 8th of March, which is getting more important and meaningful every passing day. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for introducing yourself. We'll have prepared a few questions, and maybe we talk a little bit about educational possibilities in general in your country, with a focus on women. And may I start with you, Tone? I found out some figures that show that among the young members of the Norwegian Bar Association, the women's share is now about 40%. So what about the educational possibilities in your country with the focus on women?
I think women have the same possibilities as men, whether it is a question of studying law or anything else.
Okay. And Tanya, how about the educational possibilities in your country? India seems to be evolving because the first woman receiving a law degree dated back to 1888.
Yes, I think women are more inclined now to educate themselves in the field of law, and the possibilities of getting equal education for men and women in as far as legal education is concerned is equal in India. The only difference here is whether they go ahead and continue practicing it. It's not always the case because of the divided responsibilities in India, where a man's role and a woman's role after a certain point is very clear. A lot of women, I think, have started to branch out, both get education and continue practicing in the field of law. I think that is definitely evolving in India. If you had seen it during my time, in 2007 when I graduated, there were not a lot of women who continued practicing. They would get an educational degree, they would graduate, but they would not practice. But I think now we find a lot of women who now want to practice. They want to get into the field of law, especially corporate law, because it's a lot easier to manage these responsibilities and continue practicing corporate.
Okay, thank you. Well, Özlem, how about Turkey? Because Turkey has approved the equal right to university already since 1930, no?
Yes, we are one of the luckiest women group actually in Turkey, because getting the university or getting the education, we have equal rights, I would say. Of course, Turkey is a huge country with some differences among the country. Some economical and political issues maybe we could talk about, but not today's subject. But technically, in principle, we all have a right to go to in the equal conditions with men. I think our discrimination starts afterwards, after getting older, after start working actually. Especially, when you get older, you have other responsibilities, managing the family, not only firm, raising the kids and etc. I think strong discrimination starts from that point, at least in Turkey, I experienced.
Okay. Well, Morda, let's talk a little bit about Canada. Do you feel like your country has already established a framework in order for women to have equal chances?
Yes, well, university here is free, so we're pretty lucky. So everyone can go to university. So that's a big advantage that we had. I would say that the situation is a bit different in Quebec and in the rest of Canada, Quebec being a province in Canada. I looked at the stats, and for Quebec, at least 20 years ago, about 60% of students in law were men, so 40% were women. 10 years ago, it was a bit about half and half. And in 2020, 55% of lawyers over all Quebec were women. And in universities, 65% of students were women. So we tend to see a lot more female lawyers than we did 20 years ago. So that's a big difference within the market. And I think just as the other ladies told us, it's about the same. Going to university is easy, but then starting practicing in private practice firm is a bit more of a challenge, because then women have kids and they have to struggle between finding a balance between work and family time, and so that is kind of difficult. And throughout Canada, I don't have stats for 2020, but 10 years ago, only 37% of women of lawyers were women. So there's a bit of a difference between Canada and Quebec regarding the place of women in the law market, but going to university is quite easy. That's not a problem. I think the problem, as others told, is really when we start working. And I guess it's the same in every country.
Okay. Well, Tune, how about Norway? Norway has actually a Gender Equality Act already dating back to 1979, as far as I remember. Do you feel your country has already established a framework in order to women to have equal chances?
Yes, I don't know if it's well, in Norway everyone is entitled to go to university and then to study whatever you like. And I have listened to my colleagues here, and I think that the situation is that when you graduate, that's one thing. Then you've finished the law studies. But when you're going to work, then it is a different story, because many of the women in Norway, they went into jobs as in-house lawyers in different firms, insurance companies, banks, whatever. And it was very difficult to become a partner in a law firm, because you have to combine it with the responsibility for small children. And it's not possible to say that I can't go to court today because my child is ill. So I think many women have had trouble in that way, but they have been entitled to the same positions, but it has been difficult to combine with the responsibilities at home. But I have read that in the large law firms in Oslo have tried to make the daily life for their female partners easier in these last years.
You find it has changed since the time you graduated and when you became a lawyer or admitted to the bar?
Definitely. As I said to Rosanne before we started this meeting, when I started to work in a law firm in Oslo after I graduated a couple of years later, in the beginning of the 80s, the clients thought I was in the meeting to serve coffee because they were not used to female lawyers. But today it's different. Today, almost 50% of the women who graduates of the persons who graduates are women, and it's become quite normal to meet female colleagues, female judges. It has changed completely since I started.
There was a question from the viewers. Do you feel like when you work with men, you have to work twice as hard when looking back, Tone?
Yes, in the beginning, but not today.
Okay. Well, if we talk about practicing law, maybe Tanya, can you get back to us on, has the practice of law evolved in India over the last years? Or do you think? Yes,
practicing law definitely has become a lot easier for women. There are more opportunity, and there are a lot of firms who are more accepting of women lawyers. But again, the problem lies in the responsibilities that a woman has. Typically in India, because we are a slightly more conventional society, which is actually trying to break free from all the conservatism. We might get an education, and then from there to practice, it is a fight with the family who's possibly trying to get you married, or forcing you into some other direction, because typically I think this is the world over where the hours of work for a lawyer can be a little tedious and demanding. So I think where women are concerned in India, they have to fight for that we want to practice, we want to do this, and that's something that has not changed over the course of time. I have a lot of people in my family. My own mother-in-law, who has been practicing since 1977, and she says that it was easier for her at that time than it is possibly now, because now there is so much pressure on women to multitask in so many areas while also trying to take their career very seriously. While there is support, there's also no support. It's like a simple example of when she wanted to practice law. She had family support, and they decided, yes, they'll go ahead and, support her and stuff like that. When I started practicing law, and after I had my first child, when I went back to work, the first question that was asked to me was, so where are the kids? Where have you left them? So I was like, okay, they're in daycare or whatever. Okay. But that question was never asked to my husband.
Okay.
I mean, they're his kids as well. You don't ask him.
But did you find it difficult for yourself to start your career?
Initially, yes, because I wanted to get into litigation. I was very fond of going to court and arguing and presenting, a certain logic in case. I was very, very fond of doing that. But however, I found it very challenging. One, to be taken seriously in court. People just presume that you're there for a very short time. I don't blame people from making that presumption, because a lot of women do stop practicing law very fast. Again, like I said, because of the, not so much support from the families or from society in general, they stop. And yes, I did find that's why I switched to corporate law, actually. That was one of the major reasons. And I mean, generally litigation lawyers in court also are not very supportive. They don't take a woman very seriously. Besides general clients and everything not taking you seriously in court, it's also the other male lawyers that didn't take you very seriously. So definitely the challenges in litigation are a lot more than in corporate. Corporate is quite an equal footing, actually.
Okay. Well, Özlem, I read that from a survey from the Turkish Bar Association that among all lawyers, there are 40% women at the moment. So this sounds that you have already, or how has the practice of law evolved? It must have been evolved in Turkey.
Yes, the percentage is right. And also, I mentioned in the teaser, Roseanne shared that 60% of our firm also having women working. To be honest, as mentioned earlier, for going to university or practicing law in principle is not any difficult, has not any difficulty as a woman, I would say. Difficulties are from other general perspectives that we challenge actually. I wouldn't say that the circumstances has changed dramatically since I finished the university late 90s. The situation is quite the same as a lawyer, but I think my experiences showed that working as a woman in every sector, especially in man world, is difficult anyway. Even they scare you, but still difficult for you. Even they see you as a challenge. Again, it's a difficulty for you, not for them. That's why I'm not as being a lawyer. I had any difficulties, but as a woman in general, with the clients, with the teammate, with the social activities, I had some difficulties, of course, but not practicing it. For practicing perspective, actually, it was an advantage for me to be a lawyer because they see you as a powerful woman, because they expect that women should be weak anyway. And if you are a lawyer, they also see that you are powerful and they kind of scare you, which is good for me, I think. I took it as an advantage. But again, I had to work hard anyway, but again, not as a lawyer. All my friends from other sectors, they also need to work to prove for them. Also, if you have a kid, you have to find a living nanny, which is expensive, but still you have to work harder to earn more because you have to be a perfect mother, you have to be a perfect woman, you have to be a perfect partner, and also perfect lawyer. And it costs something for us, not for anyone else. So if you would like to do everything perfectly, it costs us. And being a lawyer in a man world, it's not easy. But I at least in Turkey, I can see that at least half of the lawyers are women. So it seems that we handle it.
It seems you handled that quite good. We have in the meantime a question from the viewer. Can you all describe a time when you experienced a specific challenge as a woman in the legal industry and how you overcame this, or what would you do differently? So maybe Mart, you would like to shortly answer that question?
Yeah, well, there was a time when I was in the conference room with, I think there were 18 men, and they were very macho men. There were 2 policemen. There was a very well-known entrepreneur. And all of a sudden, they started talking about sex, just to, I think, get me uncomfortable. And they were joking about it and then joking about me, and I really didn't know what to do. So I started laughing. I left the room. I just took a deep breath and asked myself, okay, what should I do? Should I interrupt them? Should I just start to behave like they do? Or and since that day, I always wonder, what should I have done to make sure that I was taking seriously and I was part of the male team? And I think there's no right answer at that, because it's a very macho market. Well, entrepreneurs especially, sometimes they tend to be very macho and have a very bad sense of humor, I would say. But I think that if they see that you're not impressed and you don't start, I don't know, you don't start like being too stressed or anything, that you just keep your cool, then they get to respect you. But it's not easy. And that specific day, I told myself, I think that being a woman in the business market, in the law field, it's pretty more difficult than for men, because we have to think about law, we have to think about being a good mediator or negotiator or lawyer, of course. But then we also have to think, what should I answer if I get a sexist comment, or they're looking at me a certain way? What should I do? What should I say? So there is a lot of struggle being a woman in this in this field. But that was about 10 years ago, and I've seen a major change in things in Quebec and in Canada, because there have been so many laws against sexual harassment and against harassment of any kinds. And I think there's a bit of a switch. So now it's getting easier, and since there are many women lawyers and many more women entrepreneurs, it tends to change the way the people react, and the way they negotiate, and the way they do business overall. So I think it's going to be easier for youngest women than it was for us like 20 years ago. Well, I hope so. That's my greatest wish.
Well, Tuna, you actually told us that the first time you come into a meeting, it was thought that you were the one serving coffee. Was this the only experience you had, or
not the only one? Several years ago, when you came into meetings and you met a male lawyer representing the other party, then after a while, then he could look at you and said, "Oh, but my love, now you have to listen to me. I know this better than you." But that doesn't happen today.
So you think the attitude towards women actually changed a little bit? Or Tanya, what do you think? Did you have some experience like this?
I've had a very, very strange experience. Once I was in court, and it was one of the lower courts, which is known as the tribal courts over here, tribe courts here, and trial courts over here. And I was representing a policeman. And I went into court, and I wasn't his usual lawyer. So, a case was handed over to me and everything. And he just looked at me up and down, and, he started talking to his other colleagues and started saying, whose wife is she? Where does she belong to? What family is she from? And all sorts of nonsense. And I tried to ignore it. I went, argued the matter, and I came back. I looked at him. I said, "I'm not somebody's wife or someone's daughter or this thing. I'm a lawyer, and this is my name." And fortunately for me, I won that case. So, it was a great high for me at that point in time. And I think later on, when I met because word must have spread or whatever, a lot of policemen then came to me and, talked to me with great respect, addressed me by my name rather than, she's so-and-so, somebody's wife or, daughter-in-law or somebody or the other. So I think it's, besides, and it gives you a great high also, because you need to prove yourself. Even if it's a challenge for women, it's great to prove yourself, because you want to do this. You want to be a lawyer, you want to practice, you want to be good at what you're doing. And I think that gives you a great high and makes you, as Özlem said, it makes you feel very powerful. And women should feel very powerful, because they have great responsibilities. And I think we do a great job in balancing everything out as well, unlike men.
And Özlem, how about you? Did you have any specific challenge?
Very similar to Tanya's, actually. When I started newly, very young junior lawyer, most of our cases was at the specific judge. And I felt that I've been sending for the specific works to that specific judge from the firm. And I realized something suspicious, I become suspicious why I'm going to go there. And he's so nice to me, and whatever I ask, it goes through easily. And I finally find out that he just liked me a lot that he's planning to introduce me to his son. So he's imagining me just, becoming a family. He said exactly this word, becoming a family. And I finally realized the situation. And after that, I immediately decided to leave the country and go to London. So, it was a funny story now, but that time I didn't really feel okay because I just tried to become a lawyer over there. I just tried to prove myself as a woman, as a lawyer, as a young lawyer, and it was humiliating that time. So I changed my way totally, and it gave me power. After a couple of time, I experienced that, of course, but it was now funny, but that time it wasn't, of course.
Thank you. Maybe Maud would talk a little bit about why did you choose to become a lawyer? Was that something that you, right from the beginning, went to university and said, I want to become a lawyer in a man's world, or?
Actually, not at all. Well, I would say that law leads to everything. So I didn't exactly know what to do. And I said to myself, well, let's go into law, because after that, the world is open to me. But the right answer, I say, would be my mother. Put a lot of pressure on me, because she really wanted me to be a lawyer and to do amazing things in life. She really believed in me. So I'm happy now to be a lawyer, even though it's been sometimes a struggle, but that's about it. So it's not a very nice story about being impressed by someone in law, and I didn't have any female models at that time who were lawyers. I didn't know anyone being a lawyer. So I took a chance, and there I am.
Okay. And Sonia, we're curious, why did you choose to become a lawyer? Maybe at that time it wasn't that common to become a female lawyer?
No, it was not. But I have always been encouraged by my parents to take an academic education. And then I choose law, and I've been very satisfied with that.
Tanya, how about you? Was it difficult? Why did you become?
Well, honestly, I had my grandparents had a case in when I was a kid. My grandparents had a case going on in court, which I think took them almost 23 years to resolve. And by the time that they came to that resolution, it was an out-of-court settlement. And I remember them going from one lawyer to another lawyer to another lawyer and not being satisfied with anybody. And I think at that point in time, I pretty much decided that I'm going to change the system, and I'm going to become a brilliant lawyer, and I'm going to change the system, and there should be speedy resolution for cases. I'm still in the process of doing that right now, even after becoming a lawyer. So hopefully we'll get there soon.
Okay, thank you. And Özlem, why did you choose to become a lawyer? Was it difficult also for you to start your law firm then as a second?
Although I'm so happy what I'm doing now, I don't think that it was a decision made consciously, knowing what a lawyer would do exactly that time. However, I knew very well that I should do something about people with using communication skills. Most importantly, I needed to do something to avoid or help people to avoid conflicts and structure efficient functioning. I would do something like that, which is, I think, all law is all about avoiding the conflict. So I need to do something like that. I didn't exactly know law degree or experience would help this, but at the end, I think it finds the way by nature anyway.
In that context, we actually have a question from the viewer. They want to have our opinion about opening a law firm as a young lawyer, and maybe to give them some advice. Özlem, maybe you start?
Sure, thank you. although every jurisdiction have their own dynamics and legal structures and applications, of course, in general, the law itself and its presentation or practice as a service are deemed traditional, usually in general, and it's quite difficult to be innovational in terms of how to practice, how to manage a law firm. Also in Turkey, and I saw that in many countries it's quite similar. So after working in other firms and experience working with the professor, which is quite traditional also, I just wanted to give it a try, just in my way. And I focused the differences of experience and being old school and more innovational in terms of practice and also in terms of managing the law firm, which is also quite different than each other. So just being more new style, just more technological look, more digitalization in every sector, regardless from it's really doing what technology is, or just using the digitalization maybe in somehow. But I just needed to focus on the everything new and how to practice it. So it was my motivation, actually, just my way, but with the new generation way. That's why actually I choose one of the motto when I structuring our law firm. I choose one of the motto that's rendered experience with the new generation focus, because this is what I feel. New generation focus will be the future anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Tuna, maybe you can give the viewer an advice. You have been the oldest one opening a law firm, and you had been practicing for a long time. Maybe you have some advices even now for young people, for young women.
I think it's very difficult to start a new law firm today because the competition is very hard here in Norway. So I think I would recommend a young lawyer, a female lawyer, to try to get some practice from other law firms rather than starting your own. And I think it's a good idea to try to get into one of the large law firms in Norway. And then when you have got practice, and then you leave it and go to a smaller firm and try to get some influence over in a smaller law firms, because I think that gives you a larger freedom than the big law firms where you are more or less an employee together with 80 or 100 others. I think I wouldn't recommend to start a new law firm. It's too risky from a financial point of view also. And today, the differences from the year I started are quite big.
Okay, thank you, Tuna. Tanya, do you have any recommendation for young Indian female lawyers when they want to start up a new business or a new law firm?
I think experience, get the experience. I think it's very, very important before you decide, even though we've seen a lot of new law firms that have been sprouting in India. But the experience that most of the founding partners have is not very strong. And I think one of the biggest, and that's why in part I will agree with Ton that, for each lawyer to get experience is very important. And I just don't mean 1 or 2 years of experience. You should have a minimum of 5 years of experience before you decide. And I'm being very conservative when I say 5 years, before you decide to open a firm of your own. Get the experience, get enough varied experience before deciding to, open your own law firm if you want to be taken seriously. I think once you do start, you should focus on quality rather than expanding as far as quantity is concerned. today Alawat & Associates can have 80 lawyers, but we've kept it to 25, 30 lawyers for a reason, because we do believe that quality is the biggest thing that will make your name bigger, which will establish you as a not just a good lawyer, but one of the better lawyers, because there are so many options right now.
Well, thank you. Maud, maybe we go further on with our questions. And what is your wish for women still to achieve? Not especially talking about Canada, but also women.
Well, I would say finding a better work-family balance, because at the end of the day, if you're not happy with what you're doing because you feel that you don't achieve enough with your family and with your job, you won't be happy at all. So trying to find a balance where you can accomplish everything that you want to accomplish, but within not being into too high performance level every time, because we tend to I think put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We want to be the best version of ourselves. So we want to be the best mother. We want to be the best daughter, the best friend, and the best everything, the best partner. And I think sometimes we're our worst enemy, because we put so much pressure that's why many female lawyers tend to quit private law firms, because the stress is too high, and they feel that they cannot accomplish everything that they want to accomplish. So that's why they struggle so much. I hope as well to see in the future years the gap pay being diminished, because I don't know if it's the case in every country, but here in Canada there's a pay gap that remains even with female lawyers. And I hope that finally the women lose their imposter syndrome that they have, because most women, they don't feel that, well, it's kind of hard to find the confidence to ask to be a partner or to reach higher grounds. And I think this is very specific for women. And some men go through the imposter syndrome, but not as strongly as women. So I hope that the younger women find confidence in themselves to accomplish what they really want to accomplish, and are able to say, I want to break, I want to take care of my family, I want to balance, and just stand up for themselves.
Okay, thank you. Well, Tanya, what do you think? What are the changes, if you think changes need to be done, are required for the women's situation in the next few years?
Definitely, I wish there was more support as far as like Maud mentioned, like this. There has to be a balance between family life and work life. I wish there was more support as far as that is concerned. It should be equal responsibility, but again, that is not a choice that anybody else besides the woman has to take, actually. Because at the end of the day, it is your choice, and there's nothing wrong with actually taking it slow. All of us seem to be in such a great hurry that by the age of 30 we have to achieve this, by the age of 40 we have to achieve this. I think we should be able to pace it out, and it should be okay for me to start a career at 40. After I have finished certain responsibility, I think it should be okay that if I decide I want to be a lawyer at 40, I should be able to go to a court at that age and not be confident enough saying that I'm a beginner and I'm going to learn the ropes, and why not, because I've been taking care of my other responsibilities, and now I should be able to do this. Why is it that I'm only taken seriously when I'm like 25 and I've just graduated and I'm learning the ropes? It's like an excuse that we use, that we're learning the ropes. At 40 I can learn the ropes. At 50 I can learn the ropes and become a success soon after. So I think that mindset needs to change a little bit as well. And I think most law firms should be very accepting of it as well.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. Maybe Tune, do you think Norway should still adapt some changes, or do you think Norway is fine now? They have equally rights and everything for women.
Well, I still think that the female lawyers have difficulties in being a partner in the large private law firms. because it's a very difficult position to combine with the small children. But I noticed what more than Tanya said. I think that, and I agree with them, most of what they said. I think that female lawyers, she can be her own enemy. She mustn't be too ambitious. You don't have to do everything before you are 40 years. You can take it more easy when the children are younger, and then you could start a good career at an older age. Because we see in Norway a lot of young women who have been a partner or employed in the large law firms. They get ill because they are not able to work anymore because they have worked 20 hours a day for years. So I think that they have to keep their ambitions at a reasonable level, and then I think they will succeed.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from one of our members of Interlegal. He wanted to know whether it makes a difference whether you're a man or a woman being a member of Interlegal. Özlem, do you want to answer?
Yes, there is, but positive diversity. We are much more better positioned in Interlegal as women. thanks to them.
I think because it also, how is the relation, the question is, how is the relation with the male colleagues? I think doesn't really make any difference within our network, whether you're a woman or a man. Well, I think, should we start with the questions?
Yeah, we can go ahead with the questions. Ezra is asking, have you had a good cheerleader, male or female, in your life? And if not, how can you get someone to be yours?
Maud, do you want to answer that?
Yes, well, for myself, I had a very good mentor, which is Fred. I think he's listening now. He believed in me from the start. Used to be my teacher at university and offered me a job. And we've been working together for 18 years now, I believe. So we're pretty close professionally. And it makes a big difference because when you don't believe in yourself and you see someone believing in you, then you start believing in yourself. And it opens a lot of doors. And sometimes having a male perspective on what you're living through, and what you're living can be helpful because sometimes we get to stress a little bit too much, or maybe, and having a mentor perspective or someone giving you advices, it makes all the difference.
But I think there isn't any difference between male and female, because I think even male lawyers need some mentors, and they have some mentors. Usually because in Austria we have this 5 year of traineeship before doing the bar exam and before even being an entrepreneur. And therefore these 5 years, you usually have a mentor. It's the law firm and the lawyer you're working with who is actually training you. And this, for us, continues to be for the whole period of your life. This will be your mentor because you have been working, he's been teaching you all the things that you know. And that's the 5 years, Tanya, that you said before, that young lawyers should wait and have some time period where they get the experience, which I believe is also quite important for young lawyers. Know how to deal with the client, know how to deal with their own law firm, manage an own law firm, getting along with colleagues, how court is working if they are doing litigation, or even how big deals are working, how a transaction is going on, where to start, where to finish. If I haven't done that before, I need somebody who needs to teach me that. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, Salma is asking, what are your thoughts on the inflexible workplace structures in some law firms? So inflexible and not flexible.
Özlem, would you like to answer?
Sure. I think the situation is different before COVID and after COVID. Flexible. When we talk about work-life balance or working remotely and etc. Because until a year ago, it wouldn't be even imagination for me that I would work as a lawyer remotely, on almost 100% remotely from home. It wasn't really a possibility for me, but it is now. Especially I had some different ideas from the different perspective for working remotely. In the past, I had no work-life balance before COVID. Was working very long hours, living in a city with a serious traffic problem also had an effect on this, of course. Despite all the difficult conditions, COVID has made a positive impact in my life in this respect. And also, some of you know already that I have a boy at age. He's wonderful, but he was extremely upset about my working time, and we couldn't really see each other. And now with this new structure, he's so happy because mother at home. But for this, of course, right structuring is really important. I still rather prefer working in the office with my colleagues, but working remotely in flexible structure, has some advantages also. It's all I think how to structure it from Turkish clients' requirements perspective. I don't think that it will be 100% flexible and working remotely, at least. But we now all know that we can structure in some way. Of course, in my case, I was so lucky that with the partners in the office or my teammates, I was so lucky to structure this new working style. And also, I think this new style working systems has also required strong technological investments for flexible hours and working home. So if you structure these all, I think this has some benefits. Of course, there are some complaints that we now working more than before because we are at home, we are all the time available, even in the evenings. But I was working in the evenings anyway. But now, at least I may have a chance to structure my home and work balance. It is in my hand, and technology is serving to them now.
Thank you, Özlem. Rosanne, do we have another question?
Yeah, we have a few, in fact. So I don't know if someone else wants to answer that question about flexibility for mothers. The question is, do you think that this flexibility would be maintained, as flexibility is crucial for mothers?
Well, maybe Tanya, your children are still very small.
Yes, I think if this flexibility is maintained, it is obviously a big advantage to all mothers, because we do get to maintain some work-life balance. I think it is, but I don't know how well it will continue, because physically being in an office and working is very different to being closed in one room and making sure that your children are quiet throughout that time, and not knocking on your door every 5 seconds and saying, we need this, we need that. I think while there are, of course, advantages to this, even before COVID hit, I think I did do a work from home model, and the only thing was that the clients were not so accepting of that. They didn't take it too well if you were working from home. Now it's just become a norm. Now they understand it, they accept it, they don't mind screaming children in the background, they don't mind all that. But how well it'll work in the future, I'm a little skeptical about that, actually. Physical presence in office where you can interact with your clients is important.
In fact, you do need actually to know your clients in order to have the best solution on any case. Secondhand, there are some sort of private things that you can also talk much easier if you have face-to-face. Thank you. And Rosanne, do we have another question?
Yes, we have one question from Virginie. She's asking, do you feel as women that you have to dress in a particular way to be taken more seriously? I would be curious to have all of your answers on that question.
Well, let me talk about Austria. We actually have, by law of our bar, we were forced to dress in a special way. We're not allowed to wear skirts which are above the knees. We are not allowed to short sleeves. We have to have long sleeves. We have to have black suits. white shirts. We are not allowed to eat ice cream on the street. So we have a lot of kind of these things. I think, though, it has to be dressed in a business way nowadays. I think it is for all countries that women should dress as men businesslike. What do you think, Maud? How about Canada?
Yeah, there are no specific rules here. Well, if you go to court, of course there are, but being in the office, there's no rule. I would say that you have to be taken seriously. My advice would be stay true to yourself and dress as your personality within those boundaries, because otherwise you're playing a role where you tend to be dressed like someone else or like an actor. So there's no specific way that you have to be dressed. Of course, at ULEX, we're a more relaxed office. If you go to large firms in Montreal, there are specific rules where you have to be dressed properly. And sometimes there are even some written rules about, a bit like you said, Gabrielle, how you must be dressed at the office. One of my friends once got told to comb her hair in a certain way to make sure that it fit into the office. But at our own office at ULEX, it's not the same at all. So I hope Virginie, which is a coworker of mine, hi Virginie, I hope she don't feel too much pressure about that.
How about you? What do you think?
Well, there's no special rules here in Norway except when we go to court. But I think I agree with you, Gabrielle, that we should dress businesslike, like our male colleagues, or conservative.
And Tanya, how about India?
Well, we're definitely allowed to eat ice cream. But yes, I think if you are more conservative in India, and when I say conservative, I mean that, if you wear an Indian attire, like a salwar kameez or a sari or something, you are taken a little more seriously. I mean, wearing a dress or a short skirt or a skirt as such is not as acceptable. There are changes, of course, that are happening in law firms, but still, I think to be taken a little more seriously and for the focus to be on your work rather than yourself, I think to dress a little more conservatively is always better.
Okay, thank you. And Özlem, how about Turkey?
In my opinion, regardless from the gender, I think kind of formal closure is important for lawyers to be taken seriously. First impression is important. And people usually, they don't really decide consciously, but they have a feeling about you if they can trust or not, etc. So business clothing is, I think, very important. But in Turkey specifically, we don't have any rule. But in the court, we wear robe anyway, just to cover yourself if you're wearing something not really appropriate. So I would say that at the court, yes, we have a rule. But in other places, no, we don't have another rule. But in our office, I all the time kindly advise young lawyers that what you're wearing is really important, because it has an effect just people around you. So they have to use as a tool, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
I think also it's very important to feel confident in whatever you're wearing. I mean, there could be people around me who are wearing a sari and a salwar kameez. If I'm confident wearing a shirt and trousers, there's nothing wrong with it. As long as, you feel confident. I'm not saying, wear a tank top and go somewhere, but yeah, I mean, I think you need to feel confident in what you're wearing, not uncomfortable. At the end of the day,
if you wear too open, too sexy, then it becomes subject to
different kind of attention.
Becoming sexist. Also, we need to talk about that. Also, I'm not sexist at all, but we have to be wearing properly, I think, because. This
happens in other. If you are not properly dressed, sometimes you get told off by the judge in India. The judge will tell you off. I've had a colleague who he's told a colleague of mine that, why are you wearing such humongous earrings? I mean, do you think you can hear me properly with those, humongous earrings on? I was just like, what do earrings got to do with a hearing? But yeah, yes. So yeah, I mean, sometimes, it's the smallest of things that seem so innocent, but, people have a problem with it. So But somebody who has to have a problem with something will have a problem with anything you do or wear. So.
Thank you. So we'll go to our next question from Gabriela. Do you feel female lawyers in law enforcement and public offices face the same challenges as the ones working for the private initiative in your jurisdiction? Do they have the same opportunities as their male counterparts?
Well, maybe Tune, you want to talk a little bit about Norway?
I think that the women have the same opportunities both in public sector and in private, but I think that it's a bit easier for a female, or it has been up to now, to work in public positions than in the private law firms, because in the private law firms it's a very large or huge claim that you have to produce a certain amount of hours, which you can bill the clients every week, and that can be very stressful. And you don't have the same pressure if you work in public positions.
Thank you. And we have two more questions. The first one is from Rana. As female lawyer, I believe thinking with humanity gives us edge on the male lawyers. I have noticed that clients trust female lawyer, especially if the case involves human rights, environment, family. So do you believe that selecting a particular practice area let us shine more and we play then by our rules?
If you're talking about practicing a particular type of law, no, I think practicing any type of law, except maybe criminal. Criminal is a little harder for the women because of the kind of criminals, but and the kind of places that the woman has to go. But in India, otherwise, I think a woman can practice whatever area of law she wants and can be taken seriously. It totally depends on the person, how good you are as a lawyer, irrespective of the area. And I mean, I'm saying criminal, but there are some very, very good female criminal lawyers in India as well. So I don't think there is any particular practice that women are better at, or maybe they can relate more emotionally to, let's say, a family matter or a humanitarian matter, but not really. I mean, I think it's quite equal here in India. I think men, women both get enough preference as far as their practice area is concerned. And I don't think clients also choose their lawyer as female or male in a particular area. It's as how good you are in that area of practice.
Thank you, Tanya. And maybe Maud.
Well, as Tanya said, I don't think there's a main difference between the field of law in which you practice. I think that women are good listeners. Maybe some kinds of client will be more comfortable with women because we tend to listen more and to maybe try to understand the underlying consideration that the client are trying to explain. But in every field, I mean, there's no difference. And I have some of my friends who are very excellent lawyers in their specific field, and it can be anything. So I don't think it makes a big difference. And I hope that the viewers this morning don't believe that they have to go into a specific field of law to shine. I think the message here would be, do whatever you want to do, and you have the potential to do it. So you don't have to put any boundaries to yourself and go into a field where you don't want to go because you think that you're going to shine there and not into another specific field that you would be more passionate about.
Thank you. Do you feel that you have to get more certifications, degrees to advance compared to men who might not need to consider it?
Well, from a point of view of Austria, there is no need to have more certification because you do the bar exam. You have to you study university, do your law degree. You do the bar exam, and this is what everybody needs, men and women equally. There is not even. It's not said that because you have an LLM or a master degree, which is not necessary in Austria, that you will be a much better lawyer. What we usually do in Austria is, though, we make a PhD, what it's called in English, and So we finish our university with a doctor, and this might be something, it's not that it's better, but it's also man having a doctor title before his name represents something maybe more educational, but it's not a specification between man and woman, that women then are better or need more certificates in order to show more.
2 last questions. We will take Alexandre's question. He's asking, as a woman, is it easier to work with women or with men?
Alexandra, if you're still here, it's much easier to work with men, with you. How about Tune? Do you have 4 partners in your law firm?
I've worked with both men and women during the years, but I think actually I prefer to have male colleagues. I have to admit that.
Okay. Tanya, how about you?
No, I think working with men and women is equally good or bad, actually, because I think both of them, depending on the kind of person it is, they are equally judgmental and have their own opinions. I think as a woman, you need to be very thick-skinned and move on and do exactly what you want, whether it's with a man or a woman. I think that's very important.
2 last questions. The first one is there a difference in terms of wages based on gender in your country?
It's kind of hard to compare, but we hear a lot that the salaries are not the same for women and for men, especially when it comes to being partners. But I don't have any specific stats about that. I would say the main difference is maternity leave, where in Canada, we're allowed to have a full year of maternity leave, which is not paid by the employer, but it's paid by the government. But then the employer can decide to pay the bar fees for a year and can pay the insurance. So I would say this is the difference, because here some men take the paternity leave, but not many of them. So usually we see women taking it. I would say that's the difference. But then after that, I mean, all the wages are the same. We have access to the same insurance, to the same benefits that men have. So there's no huge difference.
Well, actually, as it's Women's Day today, there is a lot of debate on that, actually. If you're talking about the private in-house counsels, yeah, they still claim that they're not equally paid. If you're talking about lawyers, self-employed lawyers, I don't think there is a big difference. It's due mainly to quality and experience, but not because of female or male lawyer. And if you're talking about the public sector, it should not be, but it is said that it happens also there, that women are not equally paid as men.
Thank you. And we'll take the last question. Do you have time as lawyers and mothers to do other professional activities such as politics, teaching, public relations, or joining some associations? Gabrielle, you are Interlegal's vice president. You are a mother and a partner as well. Maybe we'll start with your answer.
Well, of course we do have time. I think as a mother, I'm talking about the mother, my son is already 18 years old. You have a structured day, and if you have a structured day, then you will be able to do other activities as well, because they goes into that structure. So yes, of course, we are not only working like 15 hours a day, and the rest of the day we're taking care about our children and cooking and washing and do all that kind of stuff. We try to find, as probably male lawyers as well, we try to find the possibility to join other networks. We're actually, Interlegal is quite a good example, because I think men and women there are equal. I don't think that Interlegal sort of discriminates women because they're a woman, and they have equal chances. As you can see, I became vice president as a woman. Well, I don't know about your countries. Maybe you tell about your countries. Özlem, what about you?
I think spending time with these activities, association, and etc., it is a part of our job anyway. I don't think that we could structure it as a separate time, because we need to think all about together. And of course, these are all time consuming, and also as a professionals, we are also job to do, work to do. And like me, some of us also have managing roles that we have to spend some time for that part also. These are all very time consuming, but at the same time, these activities are feeding our business and as well as our social life also. Interlegal, for example, it's a professional group that, but at the same time, although comparing to you, I'm quite new. I think it's now 4 years or something like that. But all the times we spend together, we share professional lives, experiences, etc. And also we spend very good social times. So I think it's all about if you enjoy your work, how you do it. It's making your lifestyle also. If you just separated the work or private life and it's all different than each other, and just eliminate work day times accordingly. At least for me, it doesn't really work like that. I enjoy what I do, and I put it also as a part of my life. And Interlegal is one of the great sample of that, I think.
Tanya, maybe you would like to.
Well, I think, like I've always mentioned, that a work-life balance is very important, and it's not just like I think all of us know that it's very important to be. We all want to be a good partner, a good daughter, a good mother, a good lawyer. I think we do, but there are some things that you need to do for yourself, and I think associations like Interlegal is something you do for yourself. Meeting all of you, you're meeting so many different people from all walks of life. It's very both intellectually stimulating to know what is happening around the world, to know possibly also to have a connect that you're not alone. I mean, this very webinar is also, there's evidence of that, while there are lots of differences and a lot of different rules in different countries, but all of us come together with so many common difficulties and a lot of common resolutions as well. So I think that way these associations are very important because it's time for yourself, literally. It's time for you to, expand the way you think, you grow, meeting different people. I think those things are very important for yourself to be not just a balanced multitasker in your life, but just as a balanced person. I think that it really is very important to do that, and one should.
Well, thank you. Tina, do you want to answer as well?
Maybe I should add a few words about the Interlegal membership. I think that has given me a lot. I've been member in Interlegal since 1999. And I think going around or traveling around the world and meeting people from the same professions and learning about their life and how they work as lawyers in the different countries is useful. As I said, given me a lot.
Thank you. Maud?
Well, I would say, as you all did, that Interlegal is amazing. What I realized being in Interlegal is that we're basically all the same, and we go through all the same struggles in our family life and our business life. And I think it's important for women to find time to improve themselves, to become a teacher, to give conferences, to shine and to gain confidence, maybe to inspire other women as well, to just go out there and do whatever they like. And it's very important to stand by ourselves and be as one in this huge world. And Interlegal is amazing for that, because we get to travel the world and meet other wonderful women that go through all the same things that we do. So so it's quite inspiring.
Well, thank you all again for being with us today on this International Women's Day 2021, which was hosted by Interlegal Network, that we're all members. Thank you to my guests. You're all inspiring women. Thank you very much for your answers. And a special thank goes also to Rivergast Media's team, who have recorded the event to produce a podcast. We will share that soon. Many thanks to them. And I also want to invite you to like Interlegal International Network on social media to access our content and next webinar. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And don't hesitate to contact us or visit us on interlegal.net if you have any questions about the network. Thank you all, and goodbye.
Thank you to our panelists, and thank you, Interlegal. Please take a look at the show notes on your podcast application or on Interlegal's episode at rivercastmedia.com. All necessary information and links to become a member of Interlegal or to learn more about the network and today's panelists are there at your fingertips. Learn more about becoming a member of Interlegal and join thousands of inspiring women lawyer and legal professionals at interlegal.net. Interlegal is on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Please subscribe to the podcast, and as always, toutes tes questions de preuve.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
all.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Really, really good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Gabrielle,
you,
for hosting
Rosanne.
this.
Thank you, Gabrielle. It was good.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
See you. Take care.
Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
See you all.
See you.